The night sky over Earth was quiet, but the signals were not. High above the planet, hidden from human eyes, something massive was arriving. It was not a ship built for peace. It was an armada. Metallic wings like black knives cut across the dark. They had crossed the void of space for one reason. They had come to demand surrender. Inside one of the ships, the invaders watched Earth's lights. Cities glowed like stars on the ground. The leader of the fleet, a tall, scaled creature named Varkal, hissed softly. In his world, planets bowed without a fight. This one would be no different, he thought. His ships carried weapons strong enough to burn continents. His soldiers had crushed empires far older than this small blue world. In his eyes, Earth was just another prize. But something was wrong. The transmissions coming from Earth were not desperate or fearful. They were normal. News channels spoke of sports, music, elections. No one seemed to know what was coming. Varkal smiled, thinking surprise would make conquest even easier. Far below, in a silent control room hidden deep under a mountain, humans were not unaware. They had seen the fleet weeks ago. They had tracked every engine flare, every strange signal. Screens glowed with alien data. Men and women in uniform moved quickly but quietly. They called themselves the Watchers. For decades, they had prepared for a day like this. At the center of the room stood a woman named Colonel Sarah Ward. Her hands rested on the table as she studied the fleet's pattern. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. She knew the visitors would not land to talk. She knew the power they carried. But she also knew something else. Humanity was not weak. Not anymore. Confirm positions of all defense platforms, she said. Her voice cut through the room. A young technician nodded, reading off numbers. All over the world, hidden satellites and stealth stations were waking up. Weapons that had never been tested in war were being armed. In the oceans, submarines moved into new positions. In the sky, pilots sat ready in silent cockpits. No one outside this room understood what was about to happen. Ordinary people were at home, cooking dinner, watching television, putting children to bed. They had no idea that above them, a battle was about to decide the future of their species. The alien fleet broke formation. Varkal's command ship sent a deep, booming signal into Earth's atmosphere. It was not a greeting. It was an order. The voice was low and rough, translated into human language. People of Earth, you are now property of the Tsar Dominion. You will kneel. Your leaders will surrender. Refuse, and we will erase your cities. The message played on every radio, every television, every screen. Streets froze. People stared at their phones in shock. For a moment, silence spread like a shadow across the planet. Then, slowly, a strange thing happened. Some laughed. Some cursed. Some turned off the message. But almost no one cried. Varkal's second-in-command watched the responses. They do not fear us, he said. His scales trembled with unease. Varkal dismissed it with a hiss. They will. He raised one claw. Fire one shot. Show them. In orbit, one of the smaller alien ships powered up its main weapon. A sphere of bright energy formed at its nose. It launched downward like a comet. Its target was an uninhabited stretch of desert. The blast hit and lit the night like a second sun. A crater 50 miles wide opened in the sand. On Earth, Colonel Ward's eyes narrowed. She turned to her team. Initiate Black Protocol, she said. Around the world, coded messages were sent. Devices hidden in plain sight unlocked themselves. In space, silent objects that had looked like debris came alive. Panels opened. Long dark barrels turned toward the stars. The alien ship that had fired the shot began to power up again. It never finished. A thin line of white light cut across the void and struck it. The ship exploded before it could scream. Pieces of alien metal spun away, burning as they fell into Earth's atmosphere. Varkal froze. For the first time in decades, he felt a pulse of real surprise. "What was that?" he growled. No one answered. More white lines rose from Earth, from sea, from space. More alien ships fell, torn apart by invisible weapons. In cities across the planet, people watched the sky. They saw streaks of fire falling, like stars dying. Some prayed. Some cheered. In a farmhouse in Kansas, a boy looked up and whispered, "We're fighting back." Inside the mountain base, Colonel Ward watched the alien fleet reel backward. Her voice was calm but cold. "They thought we would bow," she said softly. "They were wrong." High above, the surviving alien ships shifted into a defensive wedge. Varkel's claws dug into the arm of his chair. His empire had never faced this before. His voice was a whisper, but everyone heard it. "What kind of prey fights like this?" No one answered. The stars outside the window glimmered coldly. For the first time, the invaders understood, Earth was not a weak world. It was a trap waiting for them. And they had stepped into it. The next move would decide everything. The wreckage of the first alien ship still burned as it fell through the clouds. People across Earth watched the bright streaks like shooting stars. News channels cut their programs to show the skies live. No one knew exactly what was happening, but everyone could feel it. Something had changed. The world was no longer waiting for doom. It was fighting back. In the command ship, Varkel's scales shifted from black to a pale gray. He had not expected resistance. He had not even imagined it. The Tsar Dominion had conquered 50 worlds, some with great armies, some with high walls, but none with hidden weapons strong enough to strike from the ground into space. Yet this small blue world had just killed one of his warships in seconds. His second-in-command, a creature named Threx, spoke in a low hiss. "They have weapons like ours. We must retreat and study them." Varkel's claws tapped on the arm of his chair. "No. We do not retreat. We are the Dominion. We crush." But his eyes drifted to the screens showing Earth. He saw power signatures rising from the oceans, the mountains, the clouds. It was as if the planet itself was waking up, revealing teeth long hidden. Far below, in the mountain base, Colonel Sarah Ward stood over a new set of screens. A map of Earth glowed red with alien fleet positions. Blue marks showed hidden human defenses. She knew the first strike had surprised the invaders, but she also knew they still outnumbered Earth's weapons. If the aliens regrouped fast enough, they could still burn entire cities. "Status on orbital net?" she asked. 37% active, a technician replied. "We're bringing the rest online, but it'll take time." "Time we don't have," Sarah murmured. She turned to another officer. "Signal the arc units. Move them into the upper atmosphere. Make them visible." All over the world, stealth carriers lifted from hidden hangars. They were massive, flat-winged shapes, bristling with weapons. They rose through clouds like dark whales, climbing higher until the alien fleet could see them. It was not just defense anymore. It was a message. In the skies over Africa, one of the arc units broke through a thunderstorm. Its hull was black, but on its sides, giant white letters spelled a single word, Earth. People on the ground saw it and cheered. For the first time in history, humanity had one flag in the sky. On the alien command ship, Threx stared at the new images. "They are showing us their ships. They are not afraid," Varkel hissed. "Then they will die first." He raised his claw. "Target one of their carriers. Fire at once." A massive beam of blue energy shot from one of the alien warships toward an arc unit over the Atlantic. The beam hit the carrier, exploding against a glowing shield. For a second, the shield held. Then it cracked and flickered. The carrier rolled, flames spraying from one wing. Inside the mountain, Sarah's heart jumped. She grabbed a radio. "Unit 7, pull back. Pull back now." But the pilot's voice came back steady. "Negative, Command. We're not pulling back. We're showing them who we are." On every civilian broadcast, People saw the arc unit tilt its nose toward the alien ship that had fired. Its weapons charged, glowing bright white. The pilot's voice echoed across open frequencies. For Earth. The arc unit fired. A torrent of kinetic slugs smashed into the alien warship. Explosions tore through its hull. It spun, broke apart, and vanished into a cloud of fire. The arc unit's engines failed seconds later, and the giant carrier fell, breaking apart over the ocean. There was silence across the planet. Then a roar of voices rose from cities, towns, and villages. People who had never felt part of anything larger than themselves now felt one pulse. They were all watching the same sky. On the command ship, Varkel's jaws opened but no sound came. 2 of his warships gone. More than 1,000 soldiers lost. And yet the humans did not retreat. They did not beg. They fought. "Commander," Threx whispered, "we cannot win a quick battle. We should signal the High Council." Varkel's eyes burned. "The Council sent me to conquer, not to call for help." He looked again at the blue planet, so small, so bright. "I will break it myself if I must." Inside the mountain, Sarah Ward saw new signals. The alien fleet was shifting again, forming a tighter circle. "They're preparing for a full strike," she said. "Then we need Phase 2, another officer said. Sarah nodded slowly. Her finger hovered over a single button. It would send a code across Earth, unlocking the deepest weapons humanity had ever built. Weapons no one had wanted to use. She hesitated. Once Phase 2 started, there would be no going back. She looked at the screens showing children in cities, people staring at the sky, soldiers waiting in bunkers. She thought of the arc unit falling into the ocean, its pilot silent now. Her voice was low. "They wanted us to kneel. Instead, we rise." She pressed the button. Deep in the oceans, under the ice caps, in the dark of space, hidden platforms opened. Long black cylinders slid into launch positions. Old names whispered from history flashed on their sides: Prometheus, Ragnarok, Spear of Dawn. Above Earth, the alien fleet detected hundreds of new power signatures. Varkel's eyes widened. For the first time in his life, he felt something like fear. Threx spoke what everyone else on the bridge was thinking. "This is not prey. This is something else." No one answered. Then, from the shadows of Earth's night side, dozens of streaks of light rose. They were not missiles like the aliens knew. They moved faster, sharper, brighter. They cut across the void toward the heart of the fleet. Varkel gripped his chair so hard the metal bent. "Shields!" he roared. But it was too late. The first wave of human weapons reached the alien fleet like a sudden storm. White streaks tore through the black of space, each one glowing brighter than lightning. Alien shields, built to stop slow heavy projectiles, flickered and collapsed under the strange energy. One ship after another was ripped open. Pieces of armor spun out, catching the sunlight like falling mirrors. Inside the command ship, Varkel braced himself as alarms screamed. The bridge lights turned red. Screens filled with static. He could hear his crew shouting in their rough tongue, but all he saw were more human weapons rising from the planet below. The sky itself seemed to be spitting fire at him. "They are striking at our core," Threx shouted. His scales had turned completely pale. "We cannot hold this position." Varkel's claws dug into the armrest. "All ships spread out," he roared. "Break formation. Counterfire at once." The fleet split apart, ships rolling to scatter. Beams of blue energy fired down at Earth, but the targets were gone before the bolts arrived. Invisible barriers flared across the atmosphere, and some bolts even curved away as if dragged aside. In orbit, human drones zipped between alien ships like silver insects, drawing fire, forcing the enemy to waste shots. Far below, in the mountain base, Colonel Sarah Ward stood with her arms folded. Her eyes followed the fleet's movements on a holographic display. Tiny red dots blinked out as alien warships were destroyed. But blue dots winked out too. Some of the drones were gone. Some of the hidden satellites had been hit. She knew the fight had just begun. How long until Phase 2 reload? She asked. 6 minutes, a technician answered. Then keep the decoys moving, Sarah said. Make them chase shadows. All over the planet, operators guided swarms of false targets, cheap drones, empty pods, radio ghosts, confusing the invader sensors. From space it looked as if Earth had 10 times more weapons than it really did. The trick bought minutes. Nothing more. On the command ship, Varkle saw through the deception. These are illusions, he hissed. They think to frighten us with numbers. Focus fire on the real threats. Use the signal scramblers. His crew obeyed. A new pulse went out from the fleet, washing through space like an invisible wave. Half the human decoys blinked out as their signals were jammed. Suddenly the real weapons stood alone, exposed. In the mountain base, alarms sounded. They've cut through our ghost network, someone shouted. Sarah's jaw tightened. All right, she said. Then we show them what's real. At her command, the arc units rose again. Smaller ones this time, faster and sleeker. They climbed above the clouds, shields glowing faintly. Each one carried weapons no one had ever seen fired. Pilots spoke to each other quietly, like friends before a storm. They knew some would not return. Above Earth, the alien fleet turned to meet them. Varkle stood tall in the center of his bridge. Target the black-winged craft, he said. Destroy them before they reach us. Blue lances of energy cut across space. 2 arc units vanished in fire. But the others kept coming, weaving through the beams. They fired back, spears of white light stabbing into alien hulls. One alien cruiser exploded so brightly the glare filled every screen in the mountain base. On Earth, people watched the fight live. In apartments, in shops, in fields, they stared at the sky or at their phones. Some wept. Some clenched their fists. Some whispered prayers. For the first time in human history, the whole planet was one audience to the same battle. Inside the command ship, Threx stared at the tactical display. We are losing ships faster than they are, he said. If we stay here, we will be destroyed. Varkle's gaze burned at the blue world below. Then we burn their nest before it is too late, he said. Prepare the planetary spear. The crew hesitated. The planetary spear was a weapon used only once in the history of the Dominion. It could cut a world open, boiling oceans, splitting continents. Using it would mark this invasion forever. But fear of Varkle's rage was stronger. They began to arm it. Far below, sensors in the mountain base detected the spike of power. Sarah Ward's head snapped up. They're charging something huge, she said. Bigger than any weapon so far. What kind of weapon? An officer asked. The kind you don't survive, Sarah replied. She leaned over the table. Get me the global line, she ordered. A single microphone rose. She spoke into it, her voice sent to every allied base, every hidden unit. This is Ward. They're about to use a doomsday weapon. If you have anything left in reserve, now is the time. Her words raced across secure channels. Submarines rose from the deep. Underground silos opened. In space, cloaked platforms shifted position. 4 years, humanity had prepared quietly. Now everything they had built would be used. Above the planet, the alien command ship's lower decks opened like a blooming flower. Inside, a black crystal spear glowed, drawing power from the fleet. Lightning crawled over its surface. It pointed toward Earth. On the ground, seismographs trembled. Energy readings spiked off the charts. The spear began to hum, a sound so deep it rattled windows hundreds of miles below. In the mountain base, a young technician whispered, "We can't stop that." Sarah's eyes stayed on the glowing spear. "We don't stop it," she said. "We cut off its heart." She turned to a single operator at the far end of the room. "Is the Spear of Dawn ready?" The operator swallowed. "It's untested." "Then test it now," Sarah said. Deep in the shadows of orbit, a small object detached from a dead satellite. It was a needle-shaped craft, no bigger than a fighter jet. It had no pilot. Its engines lit with a silent flash and it accelerated toward the alien command ship at impossible speed. On the bridge, Varkle saw a tiny blip streaking toward them. "A drone," he muttered. "Destroy it." Beams of blue energy slashed out, but the needle was too small, too fast. It twisted between the shots like a spark dancing through rain. The bridge crew shouted warnings. The planetary spear was seconds from firing. The needle struck. A white flash lit the darkness. The alien command ship shook violently. Consoles exploded. The power feeding the planetary spear collapsed. The black crystal cracked down its center, releasing a scream like tearing metal. The weapon went dark. Varkle was thrown from his chair. Smoke filled the bridge. Through it he saw Earth still below, untouched. His claws trembled. This world would not die easily. In the mountain base, Sarah Ward exhaled once, steady. "They're still alive," she said. "But their weapon is gone." The room cheered. But Sarah raised a hand. "Don't cheer yet," she said softly. "They're wounded. Wounded predators are the most dangerous." High above, the alien fleet drifted, damaged, furious. Then slowly, engines flared again. They were not retreating. They were turning. They were coming back. The alien fleet did not scatter. It turned. Engines glowed a deep blue as damaged ships swung back toward the planet. Like a wounded beast, the Dominion's armada came for Earth with claws out. Broken hulls still bled sparks, but their weapons powered up again. Inside the command ship, smoke still hung in the air. Varkle stood bent but unbroken. One eye was swollen shut from the blast. His voice came out as a growl. "Enough tricks. End this." Threx's hands shook over his console. "Commander, our losses are—" "I know our losses," Varkle hissed. "Signal the fleet. Form the spearhead. We strike the heart of this world and rip it open." Above Earth, the surviving warships shifted into a long, thin wedge. Fire trails streaked from their engines. Their weapons glowed, building to a blinding white. They were slower now, heavier with damage, but they were still monsters. Far below, in the mountain base, Colonel Sarah Ward watched the red icons on the screen merge into one shape. She had seen predators do this on nature videos, wolves forming a line before they charged. Her voice was quiet but hard. "They're going to hit our command centers directly." Her officers stared at the display. If the alien wedge punched through, it could reach the hidden bunkers and launch points in minutes. Earth's defenses would crumble from the inside out. "Status on Phase 2 reload?" she asked. 2 minutes, someone answered. 2 minutes. It felt like a lifetime. It felt like nothing at all. "Move ARC units to intercept," she ordered. Over the Pacific, the black-winged carriers banked hard and rose again. Their engines burned bright. Pilots tightened straps and glanced at pictures of families taped to their dashboards. No one spoke much now. The alien wedge descended lower, bright as a falling star. The first ARC unit opened fire, hurling slugs and beams into the oncoming wall of metal. Explosions sparked across alien hulls, but the wedge kept coming, tearing through the shots like a blade through cloth. Blue energy lances shot back, striking 2 carriers at once. One exploded midair. Another spiraled down trailing smoke before crashing into the ocean. In the mountain base, Sarah clenched her fists. She could feel the pilots dying, but she had to keep her voice steady. "Hold the line. Hold the line." The alien command ship surged at the front of the wedge, shields flickering but still alive. Varkle's remaining eye burned with rage. "This is their last stand," he said. "We crush their nest and display their ruins to the stars." Threx hesitated. "Commander, if we fail—" "We do not fail," Varkle snapped. But in the back of his mind, a shadow of doubt whispered. On Earth, people poured into streets, rooftops, hills. They watched the sky blaze. Some held signs. Some held hands. The world was silent except for the thunder above. Everyone knew the next minutes would decide everything. Deep under the sea, long-hidden silos opened. Inside them, weapons older than most soldiers waited, sealed in dark water. Cables snapped free. Guidance systems woke. Phase 2 was ready. In the base, a light turned green. "Colonel," a voice said. "All units prepared." Sarah stared at the screen. The alien wedge was almost over the equator. "Fire," she said. From the oceans, the deserts, the polar ice, a storm of light erupted. Hundreds of small launch plumes turned the map bright. Missiles and energy spears leapt upward together, a forest of streaks climbing toward space. They rose through clouds, cutting white scars in the sky. The alien fleet fired down to intercept, but the sheer number of launches was too much. The first wave of human weapons slammed into the outer edges of the wedge. Alien destroyers exploded, torn apart from bow to stern. The second wave hit deeper, punching holes in the formation. On the command ship, Varkel's crew screamed as red icons filled their screens. The wedge broke apart. Ships spun away, engines dying. Varkel roared, "Push through! Push through!" But his words sounded hollow. He could feel the fleet breaking under him. One last human weapon streaked toward the command ship, larger than the others. Its nose glowed with a cold white fire. It struck the starboard side, ripping a gash as long as a city street. Atmosphere vented into space. Varkel's soldiers were thrown out screaming. Still the ship lived. Still it pushed on. Varkel gripped the edge of his console, blood running from his mouth. "You think you can kill me?" he whispered at the planet below. "I will walk on your ashes." In the mountain base, Sarah saw the command ship coming through the debris like a ghost. "He's still coming," she said softly. An officer looked up. "We have nothing left." Sarah's eyes were cold. "We have one thing left." She turned to a locked case at the edge of the room. Inside lay a single black key. For years it had stayed there, sealed by order of a dozen governments. She lifted it out. Her hand did not shake. "What is that?" a young technician asked. "The Sentinel Protocol," Sarah said. "Built for a war we prayed would never happen." Far above, the alien command ship began to glow at its core. Varkel was overcharging his engines, ready to dive straight into the heart of Earth's defenses. If he reached the atmosphere, millions would die. Sarah slid the black key into a console. "Target locked?" she asked. "Yes," someone whispered. She turned once more to the screen showing the blue planet and the dark ship falling toward it. In her eyes there was no hate, only resolve. "Then let's finish this." She turned the key. In orbit, a ring of satellites that had looked dead for decades came alive. Panels unfolded like petals. Beams of pale light linked between them, forming a lattice around the Earth. At its center, energy built to a blinding point. On the command ship, Varkel saw the lattice bloom around the planet. His one good eye widened. "What are they doing?" The lattice fired. A single spear of light thicker than a mountain shot upward from Earth's shadow. It struck the command ship head-on. For a moment everything went white. Down on the planet, people saw the sky flash like dawn. The alien wedge froze mid-charge. Then slowly, the giant ship at its head began to break apart. Inside the wreck, Varkel stood in the smoke, staring at the burning wound tearing through his vessel. He felt gravity tilt. He felt his empire slipping away. For the first time in his long life, he thought of retreat, not for survival, but for revenge. The command ship lurched, engines dying. Pieces of hull drifted away like black snow. But Varkel's claws tightened. His voice was a whisper. "This is not over." The ship started to fall. The burning wreck of the command ship fell through the upper atmosphere like a black comet. Fragments of alien metal rained down across the oceans. The main body, still mostly intact, left a fiery trail over the night side of the planet. Windows shattered under the roar. People looked up and saw a second sun falling. Inside the broken ship, Varkle held onto a twisted support beam. Fire licked along the walls. Sparks rained like hot snow. His crew were gone, thrown into space or crushed under debris. Only a handful of soldiers still crawled through the smoke, claws scraping metal. The ship's computer, damaged and flickering, tried to steady the descent. Alarms screeched in a language only the invaders knew. Varkle's voice was a hoarse hiss. "Steer us to land. Anywhere." Below, radar stations lit up across Earth. Colonel Sarah Ward watched the blip streak across her screen. Her team spoke at once. "It's coming down in the northern desert. Impact in 4 minutes." Sarah leaned over the console. "This is him. He's still alive." "What about the wreckage?" an officer asked. "Secure it," she said. "No civilian contact. Send ground teams now. We take him before he vanishes." Outside, special transports launched from hidden hangars. Their engines left no trails. Inside them, armored troops sat in silence, weapons locked and loaded. They were not regular soldiers, they were the quiet unit, trained for fights that never made the news. In the desert, the night sky tore open. The alien ship hit hard, skipping once across the sand before plowing into a dune and vanishing in a storm of dust. A shockwave rolled outward, flattening shrubs and throwing sand into the air like a tidal wave. The ground burned where alien fuel spilled and hissed. A few minutes later, black transports touched down at the edge of the crater. Soldiers poured out, helmets shining in the glow of the wreck. They moved forward, rifles up, scanning the shadows. The air smelled of ozone and scorched metal. Inside the ship, Varkle unlatched his harness. His armor was cracked, one arm limp. But his mind was clear. He looked at the soldiers outside through a jagged hole in the hull. He saw their small shapes moving with precision, no panic, no fear. He whispered to himself in his own tongue, "This world breeds predators." Then he moved. He dropped from the hole into the sand, landing in a crouch. The first human soldier to spot him raised a weapon. Varkle's tail lashed out, knocking the gun away. The soldier rolled, firing a burst, but the shots sparked off Varkle's armor. More soldiers encircled him, beams from their rifles cutting through the dust. Varkle roared, a sound so deep it shook the ground. He charged. 2 soldiers went down under his claws. Another fired a shock round that exploded against his chest, staggering him but not stopping him. From a nearby transport, a tall figure stepped out. She wore no helmet. Her hair blew in the hot wind. It was Colonel Sarah Ward. "Stand down," she called to her troops. Her voice was steady. "He's mine." The soldiers hesitated, then parted slightly, weapons still aimed. Varkle's head turned. His one good eye fixed on the human who had commanded the battle from the shadows. He felt a strange surge. Recognition, almost respect. He straightened slowly. "You are the Warmind," he said, his translator crackling. Sarah walked closer, dust swirling around her boots. "You came to make us kneel," she said quietly. "Look at you now." Varkle's claws flexed. "I came to take a world. I found an enemy." "Then surrender," she said. "It's over." He gave a slow, rasping laugh. "Over? No. You think the Dominion sent only me?" Her eyes narrowed. "How many?" Varkle's smile showed sharp teeth. "Enough to burn 100 Earths." Sarah did not flinch. "Then why are you here alone?" His smile faded. "To test you." For a moment, the wind was the only sound. Dust hissed around them. Soldiers waited, fingers tight on triggers. Varkle's voice dropped. "The High Council watches. They know your strength now. They will send what I could not. When they come, you will not hide in your mountains. They will tear the sky open. They will end your sun." Sarah took one more step forward until she was almost within his reach. "Then we'll be ready," she said. He stared at her, silent. Something in her tone, calm, iron, reminded him of his own leaders. He had never met prey that looked at him like an equal. Behind her, a soldier raised a launcher. "Ma'am, permission to fire." "No," Sarah said. She kept her eyes on Varkle. "We need him alive. He's a warning." Varkle tilted his head. "A trophy. A messenger," she said. "You'll tell them what happened here." His claws flexed again, then dropped. For the first time, his shoulders sagged. The fight had gone from him. "I will tell them," he said softly. "And when they come, I will be with them." Sarah gave a single nod. "Then you'll see us standing." Troops moved in, snapping restraints over his arms, loading him into a reinforced carrier. He did not resist. His eye never left the night sky. Somewhere out there, far beyond human sight, the Dominion High Council waited. High above, in the cold dark of space, a small satellite blinked. Its lens turned toward the desert, capturing every moment. Then it blinked again, sending a tight beam across the void. On a distant world, a council of tall, scaled figures sat around a black table. Holographic light flickered, showing Earth, the battle, the fall of the command ship, the capture of their commander. In the chamber's silence, one of the counselors hissed, "They have teeth." Another's scales rippled. "Then we show them our claws." The High Council rose, cloaks brushing the floor. Outside, a fleet the size of a small moon waited in orbit, engines dormant but ready. The first invasion had been a test. The next would be war. In the cold dark between stars, the Dominion's homeworld glowed faintly like a wounded jewel. Above it hung a fleet so vast it looked like a moving continent. Warships the size of cities drifted in silence, their hulls lined with weapons built over centuries. Engines pulsed like blue hearts. This was not a test force. This was the true hand of the High Council. Inside the council chamber, the air was heavy with heat and tension. The scaled leaders stood around a dark table. The hologram of Earth flickered in the center, showing the captured image of Varkle kneeling in the desert, humans surrounding him. For the Dominion, it was an insult carved into light. "They killed thousands of our warriors," hissed one counselor. "They trapped our commander," hissed another. "They must be erased," said a third, voice low and cold. The eldest among them raised a claw. "Then we send the Armada," he said. "No more games. No more tests. We burn this world until its seas boil." No one objected. Outside, silent engines lit one by one. The fleet began to turn, slow and heavy, pointing its weapons toward a tiny blue star far away. While the Dominion gathered, Earth did not sleep. In hidden bases, in underground chambers, leaders from across the planet met in secret. They spoke in low voices, maps glowing between them. They were not politicians now. They were survivors. Colonel Sarah Ward stood at the edge of the room, her face pale but steady. Around her sat generals, scientists, pilots, and engineers from every continent. For the first time, they spoke without flags, without rivalries. "They're coming with everything," Sarah said. "Our captured prisoner was not lying. The next wave will be the largest fleet in their history." "How soon?" someone asked. "Months at best," she replied. "Weeks if they use faster drives." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some wanted to hide, to dig deeper into bunkers. Some wanted to build more weapons. Some wanted to negotiate. Sarah listened, then raised her hand. "We can't hide and we can't beg," she said. "We must build." She nodded to a screen. A series of designs appeared, strange shapes, half-finished. Orbital platforms. Hypersonic interceptors. Weapons that had never left blueprints. "These are the ARC projects," she said. "We build them now, or we lose everything." The room fell silent. One by one, the leaders nodded. From that day, Earth became a factory. Shipyards rose on hidden coasts. Old industries turned to war production. Scientists slept in labs. Miners dug rare metals out of mountains. Satellites launched at night, disguised as weather probes. In deserts and forests, new runways appeared, new silos, new tunnels. And everywhere, training camps filled. Men and women learned to fight in zero gravity, to work in silence, to endure darkness. They were told little but understood everything. The next battle would not be over the skies of Earth alone. It would be among the stars. Varkle watched it all from a reinforced cell deep underground. Heavy restraints bound his arms. Guards stood at every door. Yet the alien commander did not seem broken. He watched the screens they showed him, the news of Earth preparing. Sometimes he gave a slow, strange smile. Sarah visited him often. She would stand outside the barrier and look in. "Tell your people not to come," she said once. "We'll destroy them." Varkle tilted his head. "You are building ships," he said through the translator. "Good. Bring them. Meet us in the dark. Then we will see who is predator." Sarah didn't answer. She left, her boots echoing on the metal floor. His voice followed her, soft and cold. "We are older than your son," he said. "You are only beginning to crawl. You cannot win." Weeks passed. The Dominion fleet crossed the void, its engines burning brighter than any comet. Space itself seemed to ripple around it. Scouts went ahead, cloaked in shadow. They saw Earth's new platforms rising, its new ships leaving orbit. They sent back reports. In the High Council chamber, a messenger knelt. "The humans are building warships," he hissed. "Good," said the eldest counselor. "We will crush their ships and their spirit." But far out on the edge of the solar system, something waited. It was small compared to the Dominion fleet, but it was human-built, Earth's first deep space defense net. Tiny probes hidden in rock fields, listening. When the Dominion scouts passed, they sent silent warnings back home. In the mountain base, Sarah read the incoming signal. Her eyes were calm. "They're here," she said. On the screens, the first images of the Armada appeared, rows of massive shapes, like dark mountains moving against the stars. The room went silent. Even the most hardened officers felt their stomachs twist. This was no raid. This was an extinction force. Sarah placed both hands on the table. "Then it begins," she whispered. Above the planet, the new Ark fleet rose. Black shapes, some as large as skyscrapers, bristling with weapons, shields humming. Pilots strapped in, faces pale but steady. No one cheered. They all knew the scale of what was coming. In orbit, the unfinished lattice of satellites glowed faintly. In hidden hangars, more sentinels waited. Earth had teeth now, but would it be enough? Far beyond, the Dominion Armada shifted into battle formation. Engines flared brighter. Their leader raised a claw and hissed a single command. "Advance." In the night sky over Earth, the stars began to move. The stars moved like a slow tide. At first they were only points of light, then they swelled into shapes. The Dominion Armada filled the sky over the outer planets, black hulls blotting out constellations. The largest ships carried weapons that glowed like small suns. They advanced without a sound, engines burning blue. On Earth, alarms sounded across every base. Screens flashed red. Pilots sealed their helmets. In orbit, the new Ark fleet formed a loose ring around the planet. Their hulls were dark, their shields bright. They were fewer than the Dominion ships by hundreds, but they were fast and angry, built from desperation. Deep under the mountains, Colonel Sarah Ward stood at the main console. Her face was pale but steady. Around her, officers moved quickly, voices low. The first battle of the Second War was about to begin. Then another alarm cut through the room, a different tone. "Security breach," someone shouted. "Cell Block 4. Sarah's heart dropped. "Varkle," she said. Cameras flickered. In a reinforced cell deep underground, restraints lay broken. Guards were down, stunned but alive. Varkle's massive shape slipped through a tunnel, claws sparking against steel. He had been patient for weeks, learning routines, waiting for the moment when all eyes turned to the sky. Now he moved like a shadow. Sarah spoke into a radio. "Lockdown level 7. Seal the inner tunnels. I want him stopped before he reaches the surface." Above her, the Dominion fleet came closer. Minutes remained before the first strike. Every soldier, every drone, every satellite was needed. She could not spare teams to hunt a single prisoner. Yet she knew Varkle loose on Earth was a knife in the dark. Varkle climbed a maintenance shaft, shoulders scraping the walls. He emerged in a dim hangar filled with half-assembled drones. He took one look at the ceiling above, where a service lift led toward the surface. Beyond that, open sky. But instead of climbing, he stopped. His claws hovered over a console. The screens showed Earth's defense lattice, its launch codes, its weak points. He could sabotage them, cripple the planet from within. He hesitated. He remembered Sarah Ward's eyes in the desert, the way she had stood in front of him without fear. He remembered her saying, "Then you'll see us standing." For the first time in his long life, he wondered if he was still only a soldier of the Dominion, or something else. Far above, the Dominion fleet fired its first salvo. Blue lances of energy cut across the void toward Earth's satellites. Explosions blossomed like stars dying. The Ark fleet responded at once, spears of white light stabbing out, ripping into the leading wave of alien ships. One Dominion cruiser exploded, its wreck spinning into the dark. Another lost shields and drifted. The sky between Earth and the Armada turned into a storm of fire. In the mountain base, Sarah watched the screens. She could not see Varkle now. She had to trust her teams. "Hold formation," she told the Ark fleet. "Make them come closer." In the hangar, Varkle pressed a claw against the console. One push would open a back door into Earth's command network. One push would blind their defenses. He stared at the screen. His claws trembled. He thought of the Council, sitting in their chamber, calling Earth prey. He thought of his soldiers burning in the sky. He thought of the humans building ships in the dark, fighting without surrender. He pulled his claw back. Instead he slammed a fist into the console, shattering it. Sparks burst. The sabotage program died before it could begin. He turned and climbed toward the surface. Outside, the battle raged. Dominion warships broke through the first ring of human drones but were met by hidden mines and smart missiles. Explosions lit the dark like summer storms. Ark units darted in and out, slashing at larger ships. Every minute cost lives. On the edge of the desert, a hatch blew open. Varkle emerged into the hot wind. He saw the night sky above, streaked with fire. He roared once, not in rage, but in something deeper. Then he moved toward a nearby transport pad. Moments later, the base's control room lit up with a new signal. "Unknown craft launching," a technician said. Sarah leaned closer. The craft's signature was alien but not hostile. It climbed fast, straight toward the battle above. "Let him go," she said quietly. High in orbit, Varkle's small craft shot out of the atmosphere. He threaded between beams of energy and bursts of debris until he reached the edge of the battle. On his comm, he opened a Dominion channel. "This is Varkle," he hissed. "Call off your strike." Static. Then a cold voice from a flagship. "You are a prisoner. You have no authority." "I have authority," Varkle said. "I was there. You do not know what you face." Below him, Earth's Ark fleet fired again, tearing another warship apart. On the Dominion flagship, Council envoys listened in silence. The voice of their own commander, changed and harsh, came through. "Withdraw," Varkle said. "Or we die here together." The flagship hesitated. More human weapons rose from Earth, cutting into the Armada. The Dominion had expected an easy crush. Instead they were bleeding. A long moment passed. Then the flagship's engines dimmed. One by one, the larger ships began to turn. Not all obeyed, the most fanatical captains stayed and were destroyed, but the heart of the Armada pulled back, engines burning for the edge of the system. On Earth, people saw the sky clear slowly, like clouds parting after a storm. The Ark fleet hung battered but alive. Fires burned on damaged hulls. Pilots whispered to each other, half in disbelief. In the mountain base, Sarah stared at the retreating ships. Her voice was almost a whisper. He turned them. High above, Varkel's craft drifted at the edge of space. He watched his fleet leaving. For the first time, he felt something close to peace. He sent one last message to Earth. Prepare. They will come again. But you have my warning. Then he turned his craft toward the dark, vanishing into the void. Sarah watched his signal fade. Around her, officers cheered, but she stayed quiet. The war was not over. It had only been paused. Yet in that pause, under a sky full of scars, humanity stood unbroken. And somewhere out there, a former enemy carried their story into the stars.